At first glance, this photo documents every subway driver's worst nightmare, that his train has just bumped into someone. This time, he could clearly see that it was a woman. However, after minutes of looking and searching, a bizarre reality lay in front of them, and the driver could only mutter the following word: she disappeared. This is, in my opinion, the strangest train jump-off incident in Japan over the past decade. Without further ado, let's get into it. November 16th, 2014, mid-afternoon in Osaka Prefecture. An express train was running according to schedule and everything seemed routine. It was supposed to be a normal, uneventful Sunday afternoon. This train was running on the Nankai Main Line, a major railway line in the region that connects downtown Osaka, Kansai Airport, and Wakayama Prefecture. For those international viewers out there, if you've ever traveled to the Kansai area of Japan, there's a decent chance that you might have taken this train before, as it often appears on Google's recommended routes to and from Kansai Airport. At around 4:20 p.m., the train was heading toward Izumiotsu Station, where it was scheduled to make a stop. Now, this piece of information would prove to be quite crucial, and in a sense, it would set up the prerequisites for this incident to be worthy of discussion. Because if this had not been the case, meaning if the train had gone past Izumiotsu Station without having to stop, which is what express trains often do, picking and choosing certain stations to stop at and others not to stop at, then the train would have been operating at full speed, as there would have been no need to slow down. In that case, any object it might have bumped into would have been destroyed to smithereens instantly, and there would absolutely not have been any chance of survival. However, because in reality the train had to stop at the station, it was already in the process of decelerating, meaning its speed had already slowed down quite a bit when the incident happened, and that provided the foundation for the intrigue of the incident. A woman, more precisely an elderly woman in her 50s to 60s, was spotted by multiple witnesses running toward the train as it decelerated into the station. She allegedly made some loud noises and then jumped onto the train tracks. This was witnessed by multiple people from multiple angles, including those on the platform, so evidently the train driver would have seen it most clearly, and he immediately applied the emergency brake. The train then came to a halt. The train driver and the train conductor immediately came down to check on the situation and also informed the police. As mentioned previously, according to various news outlets that reported on this incident, there were also witnesses on the train platform, so presumably, if any of them were staff of the train company, they would have come to check on the situation as well. One particular piece of information, or rather lack of information, is noteworthy. It was not mentioned anywhere in any news article that the train driver felt any impact of his train colliding with anything. While it is possible that such a detail was simply omitted from the news, an omission of this nature is quite unlikely. Normally, with this type of incident, reporters would almost always disclose this type of information. So either the driver chose not to reveal it, or more likely, there was no collision, according to the driver's recollection. In that case, perhaps the woman had fortunately survived. However, after coming down to the tracks to check what awaited them, whether it was a horror scene or relief, the train driver said something along the lines of, "She disappeared." This was reported by numerous news articles as being overheard by people at the scene. However, it was not mentioned whether the police were present when this line was said and whether the police were among the people who overheard it. In other words, it was not clear whether the train driver said this before or after the police arrived. What we do know is that after the police came, the area was locked down for a thorough canvassing, yet the police found nothing. No trail of blood, no corpse, no human being, nothing. As if the woman had vanished into thin air. Meanwhile, the train company released an official notice that an accident had happened on this particular line and service was to be disrupted for the time being. Then, at 4:45 p.m., service resumed. So from the time the incident happened at 4:20 p.m. to service resumption, roughly 25 minutes had passed, a time span long enough for this incident to spread around on the internet. Due to the bizarre nature of the event, it quickly became a hot topic on Twitter, with people developing all kinds of theories and hypotheses. The first point of contention is the actual existence of this lady. Was this person actually there? Could it have been a hallucination, or maybe a misinterpretation of what people saw? Because in Japan's railway history, there have actually been quite a few similar cases, where someone was spotted jumping onto the tracks, but nothing was found later. Due to the frequency of these types of events, they were often brushed over as a matter of the train driver simply simply miss seeing things. For example, just one day prior, on November 15th, 2014, there were reports that a person who had collided with a freight train at Minami Torikai Station in Sakata City had disappeared. When asked, a spokesperson for JR East Akita branch explained that at around 10:25 a.m. that day, the driver of a southbound freight train spotted what appeared to be a woman in her 60s beside the tracks about 100 meters ahead. The train was traveling at approximately 70 kilometers per hour at the time, and the driver applied the emergency brake immediately, but the train came to a stop past the location where the woman was thought to be. Believing there might have been contact with the woman, the driver called 110 emergency services. After that, a thorough search of the surrounding area was conducted, but no one was found. Now, because the train driver was the only witness, many netizens held the opinion that perhaps the driver had made a mistake in eyesight, or maybe it was a fleeting wildlife that had crossed the tracks, survived, and then ran away. Now back to the case that is the focus of this video. In comparison, what makes this case stand out is that there were multiple witnesses besides the train driver, so people were having a hard time believing that the lady was just a hallucination. Immediately, people took it to Twitter, tweeting things like, "Yo, someone jumped in front of the train and just disappeared." These tweets quickly gained traction on the internet. What fueled the flames was that in Japan, there had been a popular manga called Gantz that had just finished its magazine serialization. In the manga's opening scene, the main character and his friend get hit by a train while trying to save a drunk man who fell onto the tracks, and they suddenly disappear. So netizens started calling this incident a real-life Gantz event, sparking intense discussion across the internet, with people developing all kinds of theories and hypotheses. Some even went so far as to say that a paranormal phenomenon was at play. Their evidence was that in the very same picture, you could see silhouettes of a female figure resembling a ghost. Now, ghosts and spirits aside, one hypothesis that I find particularly interesting, and one that seemingly makes scientific sense, is the following theory: the hide in the tracks theory. Suppose there is some kind of space between the platform floor and the train tracks, however tiny the space might be. If the lady was skinny enough, small enough, maybe there was a slim chance that she was able to squeeze herself into an ultra-flat position, immensely minimizing her physical presence, ending up perfectly wedged in the gap between the rails and the train's undercarriage. Then, for whatever reason, she chose to remain in the tracks, explaining why nobody was able to see her during the search. While in theory this could make sense, my biggest problem with it is, how come nobody noticed her when the train left? Because at that point, there'd be nowhere to hide. Without the train as cover, she'd be a very noticeable presence on the tracks, and anyone on the platform would have easily noticed her. Anyhow, while the internet was still brimming with discussions, and many people were expecting this to develop into one of those legendary unsolved mysteries, just one day later, the railway company gave an official explanation, which rendered this incident solved and closed. The explanation was not given directly on the company's official website. Instead, it was communicated through news articles from a few news agencies that had interviewed railway personnel. The source I'm using here is from JCast News. So according to the railway personnel, here is what happened. After the emergency brake was applied, the train stopped about 15 meters before the location of the lady. So no contact between the train and the lady was ever made, allowing her to come out unscathed. She then said, "I jumped," to the surrounding train staff. Then she climbed back up to the platform on her own and quickly left through the ticket gate without anyone stopping her. So in a nutshell, this lady did exist, and there really had been a jump, but the woman got extremely lucky. She was not injured and simply walked away afterward. However, this explanation, rather than putting a close to the mystery, only raised more questions. Netizens were not really buying this explanation. There are three main things that don't add up. Number one, how was the lady able to climb back up to the platform on her own? There is a considerable height between the tracks and the platform, about 130 centimeters, which is roughly 4.27 feet, pretty much the height of a Japanese middle schooler. And this lady is an elderly woman supposedly in her 50s to 60s. Was she a ninja? A man in his 20s might be able to manage this, but a woman in her 50s to 60s pulling it off would require some seriously high physical ability. Number two, why did the train driver say she disappeared? If the account of the event is true, then why would the train driver be searching for her and puzzled by her disappearance? A person on the tracks, either lying down or attempting to climb up, is a scene hard to miss, so the driver should have spotted it easily. Even if we were to suppose that the lady was so agile that she was able to climb up and exit the station before the driver came out to check the tracks, whoever witnessed her crawling out would have informed the driver of what had happened. So in all cases, the driver had no reason to be left confused. Number three, Why was nobody able to stop her? And why is there no account from anyone who witnessed the lady exiting the station? Even if she ended up unharmed, they should have properly checked to make sure she wasn't injured. And since the train was stopped, they should have questioned her about the circumstances. If the jump was deliberate, her actions could potentially fall under the crime of endangering traffic. This is further corroborated by the fact that, according to later reports, the police considered the possibility of endangering train operations and were attempting to locate the woman. And most strangely, the scene would have caused a commotion. So with all the people on the platform watching, how come none of them reported having seen the woman exit the gate? So, what now? On jinshinjiko.com, which is a data site that logs railway human accident history, this incident is officially logged as target woman. No casualties. So regardless of what your opinions are, this case is officially closed. Notice that the data for this incident contrasts drastically with almost all other incidents that happened at the same station, as almost every other incident involved some kind of casualty. So all doubts aside, at the end of the day, I'm glad that nobody was hurt in this incident. If you're interested in similar mystery cases like this one, stay tuned. We've got more videos coming. Stay safe, everyone. See you next time.